Hey everyone, it is Natalie from Being Intentionally Creative, and today we're going to work on a fun piece. We're doing a resin piece. I feel it's been way too long since I've done resin. We're going to do a resin piece today, and we're going to use a couple of things that I picked up from Michael's due to the Christmas time. I got this package or container filled with these cute little gingerbread pieces. I just want to get that up. Oops. And off that one goes. Let me get that up there. These cute little gingerbread pieces, which I adored when I saw them. I thought there's got to be some way I can use these. Now I have another idea for these guys. However, today this is what we're going to stick with, is we're going to make a coaster. And I'm fingers crossed that once I get to the top that our guys will be covered without, now let me see, maybe this will work and help me out with that. See, I'm really hoping when I'm done that I don't have to do a top coat over this and that my gingerbread guys are actually covered. The other thing I got this year was these snowflakes. And they're kind of thick. They're not overly thick. Again, I got both of those at Michael's. So they're not too thick, right? These won't be a problem putting in. Now, I also have these small little Christmas trees. I got these through Temu, and hopefully you can see them. Well, I'm tiny. I was going to actually put these on the Christmas cards I was making for my siblings, but that's another long story that went totally south for me this year. And I wanted something to put, you know, extra in here, and I thought, oh, these guys will work perfectly. So you'll be able to see, hopefully. I've got 3 in here, and my mat is sticky. I got to clean this with alcohol. Anyways, that's not the point of this video. So I thought we're going to do the 4 gingerbread people. We're going to do the 4 snowflakes. We're going to do, I think there's 8 of these Christmas trees, and we're going to put them in and around, as you can see. And then in the center, I have got this sticker. All right. To me, you know, I want this to be a Christmas coaster. And I thought this, fingers crossed, this works, because I don't know what kind of a seal, if anything, this sticker has on it, but I thought it would look cute in the middle. I thought, I got to have something in the middle. What am I going to use? Now, you know, we can take it out, but it looks like it's missing something. And the reason I like this piece is because of the jagged edges on it and the jagged edges on our coaster. And I thought it would fit in, and it does. So hopefully this will all turn out the way I want it to. I had also thought about putting a really thin layer of resin in first, sort of letting it set up and then putting these other pieces on it. And I'm not sure about that now, but I might do that, because part of me got thinking was maybe leveling. So the gingerbread guys, they've got to stay down at the bottom. I can't, you know, lift them up. They've got to stay down. But I almost wondered about trying to make this look 3D. And so we do our very base layer, right? We get our gingerbread guys in there. And my idea with these guys is to use UV resin just to hold them in place. I do not want anything moving. Get them set up, do a really thin layer to hold them in place. Or, you know, even if I did a quarter of a way up on the gingerbread people, and then we'll sort of let it set up. We'll maybe do another layer and have, you know, these sitting up a little higher, and then do another layer and then have the Christmas tree and the Merry Christmas in the center. So it looks 3D, and then filling it up completely. So that's kind of my idea. I'm more than likely going to go get my heat mat so that we can do this quicker than waiting 24 hours sort of all through this process, because that's going to maybe take me too long. Now, the other idea I have, not completely sold on it yet, we'll have to see, is I got thinking it would be nice to have a base color on this. I had thought about gold and went, yeah, but it's probably going to mesh too much with our gingerbread, and then we're not going to be able to see them. So I have pulled out, quote, 3 reds, if you will. So we're just going to put these guys off to the side. We're going to put those inside of that for now. And what I want to do is, this is where I play. This is where I get to see what's going to work, what's not going to work. So I've got out what I would term as 3 reds. So they're not all the same. We've got this Flash Amaranth. I've got an Eye Candy Red. Again, not going to try and pronounce it because we know where I go with that. We've got the Let's Resin Chrome Powder Red. We're going to put this in, you know, sort of one color at a time. And I don't know whether I'll end up just leaving it in and then pouring something else with it. I'm not sure right now, but that's neither here nor there. All I want to do is, I'm not really concerned about the snowflakes. I mean, snowflakes will show up on red, and we can give that a go too and just place them down. I know the Christmas trees are going to be fine on top of a red. If anything else, it'll highlight. There's a bit of red in these. I don't know how well you're going to be able to see that. Maybe not well. But it's really these guys I'm most concerned about, is getting the right color on the very bottom of this so that they show up well. I'm not mixing. I'm going to make, my resin's going to be clear for all of the levels. I'm not going to do, I had thought about doing the base color in the red, but I figured instead what I would do is I would just put it down. So let's get some of this in, and then we'll decide which is the best color. I had almost thought of going with the copper because of the, yeah, I'm doing such a good job of this. I'm probably going to put something else in here. I had almost thought of going with the copper for the gingerbread guys to sort of line it up, but I've got some cardstock I got at Michael's, obviously, and most of the colors were like a green or a beige or a brown and sort of copper colors. And I wondered about a copper on the base, but I thought again, I don't want this blending in too much. I really want you to be able to see the gingerbread guys, because they're sort of my focal point on this. I thought they were so cute, and I thought there's got to be something I can do with them. And as I say, I feel that I have another idea. I just have to find the right mold. So we'll do that, and then we'll make sure that I line these up properly so that I don't end up going, okay, which color did we decide on? And I really am. I keep saying this. I really like this. And I think I got this at Dollarama, I believe. All right, let's do this red. And we'll place them down once we've got all our colors in. And then we'll see what looks the best. And I thought a true red would be nice. I'm going to have to find something interesting to do with this when I'm done, aren't I? And these aren't my best molds, I will admit, but I have been using them for a lot of different things. Right to them, which is brilliant. I was very happy about that because I knew that with these gingerbread guys, I needed to have something that had a high side to it. Got a lot left on that, don't I? Oh well. Put that over there, that over there. All right. So, anyone else getting snow in the world? I know some of you live in places where you probably don't see a lot of snow. I'm getting all kinds of snow. It's not staying, it comes in and then it goes, but when you get days in a row of snow, it's starting to remind me of what my winter was like last year. And yeah, I am fingers crossed we do not have another winter like we did last year. I'm a little concerned we will, which, yeah, doesn't thrill me at all. All right. So we definitely have the spectrum here. So I'm getting over top of that. And it's interesting, you know, when you start throwing colors down and you notice, you know, we're dealing with variations of red, and you can just, by placing them side by side, you really can see a difference. And I'll share this with you in a moment once I kind of get this done. This one's got a bit of a scrape in it, which I can't cover up, but that's okay. Trying to get some, I don't know why I'm bothering. I don't know why I'm bothering. Okay, let's get this done. Now, when it comes to doing that one, I'm not going to make you sit through me doing that. I think I'm going to have to clean this out soon. All right, taking too much time doing that. I'll clean that in a second. Okay, so what we'll do, I want to get some of the extra out, so we'll just flip it like this, and then we'll flip it back. I don't even know, can you see the difference even through that side? Maybe not as good as I can, but I can definitely tell a difference. So I did that. It's got to go this way. It's a good thing I'm realizing that that one's on the side. But okay, so here we go. You can see the difference, eh? So this is I mean, I've never done it like this before, but I thought this would be a really good way of just, okay, what color are we dealing with and what will be the nicest in there? What will, you know, show them off the best? All right, so let me just take this guy, and what will, I can wait, I mean, these are either made out of resin or made out of plastic, so, oops. And there. And there. Actually, you know, so I'm looking at this and how I had it set up in the other one, I'm going, that might look kind of cute doing it that way. So again, I share my ideas with you. What you do with them, that's totally up to you. You can expand on them, use the same, or, you know, what have you. All right, so there we've got it. Now, in looking at this, I think we're going to be, probably with any color, they're going to stand out, I think, pretty decently. I'm just going to turn it my way and bring it a little closer to me so I can have a bit of a better look. And see which one. Dun, dun, dun. I think the colors are, I think any of those colors would work. It just depends on now. Do I want it sort of muted, which is what the amaranth color would be? Do I want it sort of mid-range, or do I want, because of the, I mean, the intensity of the Let's Resin Chrome? I don't know. Boy, that's kind of a hard. Well, let's just keep going. Let's put these guys on top and see if that helps with any kind of decision making. I'm sort of following with the eye candy one. Not too light, but it's sort of like Goldilocks and the Three Bears for me right now. So let me just get that out of the way for you guys. No, we don't want to do that, right? I'd like to lift it up for you, so give me a second and let me get one away. And we'll lift it up and try not to move things too much. So that's what we're looking at. Yeah, I guess it depends on the intensity of what I really want. You know what? I think I am going to go with the eye candy. I'm going to do the middle color, because it seems to be, it's not too much, but it's got enough of that Christmassy vibe to it. Now, the last thing we'll do is we'll take you out. So I think, yeah, I'm going to, and I'll wipe these guys down, all of them. And then I'm going to figure out what I want to do with this and do something with it. I'm getting my marks and I'll have to go back over these. Yeah, because I'm taking it off, as you can see. okay, is this. So if we put that in the center, again, I don't know how well you can see that. I don't want to put it right down, but yep, I think I'm going to go with the eye candy. So I'm just going to touch this up a little bit because I know I've messed some of it up. And if I'm going to do something in it, I really don't want my scrapes of my nail in there. So we'll just get that. And I'm not, you know what? I'm okay with the side being a little messy. I'm okay with that. And we'll figure out something to do. I haven't got a clue right now, but that's okay. I don't need to. That's not what this video is all about. So I'll cover that up and then I'll decide what I want to do with that. And I might do it in this video and I might not. All right, so we'll put these other two colors aside because I'm not going to use them. I will get all this cleaned up. I am going to figure out sort of approximately how much of the resin I make. Now, the interesting thing that I got thinking, okay, if I want to do this and get, you know, everything lined up, the beauty of this mat right here is when I was looking, I went, oh, well, if you put one here, and then one here and one here, I've got the lines as my guide, and these guys fit, you know, pretty well within the lines, okay? So I can line these up fairly decently so that it doesn't, you know, I'm not off center on any of these. So I'm going to clean the mold up now that I've got some sparkle in it. I'm going to mix up some resin so we can get pouring. I will get these guys glued down into their spots with the UV resin. Like, I could potentially, I think, put down a really fine layer of resin and then plop these guys in. But I really want to make sure they're where I want them to be, and I want them to be facing out like this, not the other way around. I think it'll just be better if I do that first, and then if we have to put a top coat on the bottom, we can do that easily enough, either with a 2-part epoxy or with UV resin. So we'll have to see how that lands. But I will be pour the resin. Alrighty, we are ready to carry on. I have my clear resin. Can you actually believe I'm doing clear resin? I mean, you know, check my temperature. Something might be a little off on this. Anyway, I've got my clear resin mixed up. I'm just going to put this off to the side just for a moment so we can get this back in sort of mainstream of where I want it. I have just turned on the heat mat. I just want to kind of get this in. I'm going to have to, as we know, put stuff on it. Now, two things. I am going to be covering this up. As always, I put silicone pieces, like, you know, these mixing underneath to because I don't want to put plastic directly on here because I would be concerned it would melt. So I always prop up my covers that I have. The other thing I do is I find that if this warps a little bit, so I use some of my ceramic resin pieces just to hold the mat down because it does bow a little bit, and anyone who's got one can probably, you know, back me up on that they do tend to, you know, come up a little bit. So I want to make sure it's held down in place so that this doesn't get warped when it's curing up. Now, honestly, I do have a couple of UV air bubbles in my, in the resin that I poured and cured up to keep these guys in place, which is kind of unfortunate, but I do, and I just have to accept that. So I've made up 50 mils approximately of the resin. And if I have some left over, I'm going to maybe put it in the other one that I still don't know what the heck I'm doing with that. So I'm going to very carefully pour this around these guys. And I'm going to be watching this very closely too, because I don't know how long, like usually it takes 2 hours to cure pieces. That's what I found. when I have done other pieces using the heat mat. So usually within about 2 hours, this will cure itself up, which is fine and dandy. I want to watch it though, because of the fact that I'm not like filling this all the way up. So I want to be careful about that. And the other thing is that with my mica powder that I put down, I did not worry about the sides as far as making sure they were covered. It's kind of a messy job I did, and I'm okay with that. I didn't need the sides to be anything, you know, special, clean, neat. That's not what I was going for. So, okay, we're almost done. So we'll have a look and see how much, because again, I want to make sure I've got enough everywhere. Get my head in the way. I just really want enough of this to hold our little guys in place. And then we can level it up. Now, when I filled this up with water, this particular mold, it came to about 123 mils that it took overall of water. Now, I don't know that I'm going to need all that from a resin perspective, especially because we're putting pieces in it. So that will, you know, have part and parcel. I wish I had my other glasses here. I might have to go get them, but just making sure that we're getting our all around these guys so that they set up in place. And I'm not really planning on putting any glitter in this, but who knows? So unusual for me not to. All right. So I'm just trying to see if this maybe, I'm going to put a little bit more and just put it in the center and let it flow out. All right. I think that'll be enough just to keep these guys, you know, get them set in, and then when we do our next layer, then we can put our, you know, some of the other guys in. And I think I've got some things sort of floating up, and hard to tell whether there's some sparkly little things that are throwing up, and it may be too some of the stuff's coming off of there. And I know for sure that with my little snowflakes here, I mean, there's glitter that's coming off of them. And I would recommend too that you don't put anything plastic on this. Again, I don't know, because I haven't done it, whether or not it would be an issue, and you don't want to have an issue. And I always stay and watch this. I've got constant monitoring going on with this, because I don't want, you know, it's a heating mat and you should be paying attention to it. Now I've got something at the bottom of this, and I don't know what it is, whether it's an air bubble or what it is, but yeah, I'm not going to start playing because I don't want to take I don't want to take the red off the bottom. That won't be much fun. So we'll let this sit. We'll let it set up for a little bit. I will find something else. Ooh, I have an idea what I can do with some of that. Yes, I do. Yes, I do. I don't know if I have enough to do both, but maybe I do. So I'm going to cover this up. So what I mean by the covering up, so this is plastic, just a thin, and all I do is, because I don't want dust getting into this piece, because it is the top after all. So I just use those silicone mixing cups to elevate it up. That, and the other thing I like about that is because that's being heated up, then, you know, the air can circulate around the piece as well, which I think is also important. Anyway, we'll come back in a little bit to work on the next step, which to me would be putting in the snowflakes. And then I think what I would do is, I think once that's in, the snowflakes are in, then we will do one more layer to put in the small little crystal trees and the piece in the center. And hopefully, fingers crossed, everything comes out the way I want it to. So we'll be back in a little bit and carry on. All right, we are going to carry on. This has had almost 2 hours of sitting on the mat, and I have done a quick little test with a toothpick, and we can carry on from where we are at. One thing I want to mention that I've sort of noticed, and it's not something I had thought of, so we'll have to see at the end of the day how this turns out. But I'm noticing that my UV resin, I can see where I poured it. Now, I hadn't thought, I'd not even given any consideration that using the heat mat could impact the UV resin. So that is something we're going to have to pay attention to, and we'll have a look at the end of the day when this is done, the overall impact. And it's something good for me to learn, because again, didn't really think that the heat mat may have an impact on my UV resin. So something to keep in mind. We will be checking that out, and if that is the case in future, I will have to either find a different way of holding my pieces down or use the UV resin, but then I'll have to do it in the various stages and let it set up on, like the two-part epoxy set up on its own. So we will look at that when we are done. And the next thing I'm going to do is we're going to pour this, and I have not done anything with my little snowflakes here. All right, so what we're going to do is hopefully when we put these down, we will be able to let them set up and not move around, if that makes hopefully sense. So we'll get them in, and then what we will do is work on getting the little trees in at the last. And when we do the little trees, so there's going to be another layer we're going to do, and then we will, let me get this around. Let me get this done first, and then I can sort of fill you in. I'm trying to pay attention to what I'm doing without losing track, right? So let me just very carefully get done what I want to get done here, and then I can explain to you sort of what my process is going to be. Some days I cannot talk and chew gum at the same, or yeah, walk and chew gum, that's it. Yeah, at the same time. So I only made about 30 mils of resin this time around. All right, because I thought, well, I made way too much the last time. So I'm hoping, and we'll see, that my sort of little snowflakes here don't go, swimming all over the place, because that'd be not fun. So we'll see what one does, and maybe if I, can very carefully get them in, push them down, they'll get covered by resin and they'll just stay where I need them to stay. That would be a beautiful thing. So let's just get this down. So this coaster is about half full now. Just as I throw things aside, right, so I can clean off so we'll put that off to the side, get my glasses adjusted. The things I have to do, right? All right. So what I want to do is very carefully, all right, and try and get these where they need to be. So we're going to very carefully, trying to think if I want them up. I hit them. Let's not do that. Let's just get them centered as best we can. Get my hand off of that because that's a little warm. So I'm hoping, because of the fact that we've got these indents here, like just these little openings here, hopefully you can see that it just stays put. Stays put. Probably going to have to move this a little bit and then try and... It doesn't have to be perfect. I'm seriously still working on that. Natalie doesn't need things to be perfect. And then we're just going to keep, yeah, I really have my fingers crossed that this is not going to, I'd probably take those off actually. I made my bell earrings, what I'm hoping will turn out to be bell earrings at the end of the day. And I will keep an eye on these snowflakes to ensure they don't, you know, sort of decide to do something silly. Now, normally, too, the other thing I would do that I haven't done, I've got that upside down. Okay, so apparently these do have, oops. Okay, so there is a ribbed side to these, and there is a flat side to these. So this one, oops, it was the wrong way. So we just got to get that flipped over. So good to know. I was looking at those two going, why is this different? All right, so noticing too now, okay, so that's an important lesson. I now have air bubbles in these, and hopefully these will just all come up to the top. That's a drag, eh? Yeah, I'm hoping these come up to the top enough that I can get those air bubbles out of them. I didn't even think about that. So there's a flat side to these, and there's a ribbed side to these. So that's something to keep in mind. See, that's the brilliance of videos that you get to watch. So when somebody like me does something and it's not right, if you go to use these, at least now you know, oh, there's two sides to it, because it hadn't clued in on with me. So I'd like to try and get those. And normally the other thing that I would do is I would soak these in the resin first, and I didn't do that at all with these. So that would have been helpful if I'd done that. So here's hoping that, and then two, when I go to put the next layer on, I want to make sure that if those aren't filled, and I think they're probably pretty good, that we fill these up, like do those little holes first. I don't think I want to put, because those little trees are they're pretty flat. Like there's not a lot to these. We can have a quick look at that. And for the final coat, like once this is set up, I'm going to take it and let this cool right down. We will work then on putting in the centerpiece, my Merry Christmas, because I don't want to be putting this in and not be warm, because I think that will cause me issues. And Natalie doesn't want any more issues. So let me just take this like that. And then like that. Yeah, so those are quite a bit, the depth of these is quite a bit. It's maybe about half, I would say, of what the snowflake is. So we will put those in when we put the other piece in. Might have to, yeah, I'm going to have to think about that, because it would be really nice if I could just get the final coat all done at once. That would be a beautiful thing. So let's just double check these. Thankfully, they're sort of staying put, so that's brilliant. Like they feel like they're coming up just a little bit, but I think we're going to be okay, I think. And that's the one that we need to go over again. Yeah, so we're going to have a couple of little air bubbles in that one, and I'm just going to have to, I'll just suck that up and carry on with my life. Now, I think too, it's hard to say. I feel like my mat's coming up a little bit, but maybe not. Yeah, So I feel if I even let this just sit for an hour, yeah, see this corner, this is up a little bit. Not much, but a little bit. Now again, it could be too the heat from the heat mats kind of messing with my silicone mold a bit as well. Let those sit on there for a little bit. Let's just test these guys out. I'm trying to find a spot where I don't care. Yeah, I think those are pretty much done. They'll definitely come off in probably the next half hour or so. I won't let them sit on there much longer. And we've got that done. Okay, we will come back once I have cleared up this mess, got everything back to normal. I will keep double checking these snowflakes, but I'm liking how it looks so far. And as I say, the only thing that's sort of going to be a drawback here is my UV resin. So that could be an issue at the end of the day. Yeah, that's kind of unfortunate. I like I said, I didn't even think about that. Didn't even come into my awareness. So again, you'll know. Okay, so we'll just cover you back up. I will be back once I've got all this cleared up, and then we will carry on. All right, we're coming back a lot quicker than I expected to. I decided that these little trees that I want to put in here, I wanted to get them in sooner than later. This is already starting to set up, and so I want to get these just down. So when I go to put on the next layer, these guys are actually somewhat attached. Now, things are a little skewed off. I need to move these, don't I? Let me get that over there. These are a little off. And you gotta be really careful doing it now because it's somewhat, so my spacing isn't exactly the way I want it to be, so I'm going to suck that up a little bit. And then hopefully they should sit. They're not very heavy. It's not like I'm putting really thick anything down. So let's just get these guys in here. And yeah. I just figured like I say, I'm a little concerned that when I go to, if I put the next layer in, that these guys might try and float away, which I don't want them to do. So I checked it. It was only about 15 minutes. I'm checking this and going, oh, this stuff is already starting to set up. We'll go around again and yeah. So I'm still a little concerned about this bowing up a little bit. And I'm almost wondering if what I maybe should have done is place something across it and then put something heavy on it. But again, I mean, this is, you learn, right? This is how you learn what to do, how to do that kind of thing by, doing little pieces like this. That's how you figure it out. So that if you go and decide you're going to do a bigger piece, you've experimented with the smaller. So I'm hopeful that these are just going to stay in place, and then when we go and put our next layer on, which again, this will be completely cooled down because I don't feel that, yeah, the sticker's going to have to go down when this is like definitely cooled down, as far as I'm concerned anyway. Let's see if that's down in there. I don't want to go too heavy-handed on it. Just enough. Now I have to admit this one has caused me a little bit of an issue, so I have a little straggly here, but I'm hoping that, you know, once we get the next coat on, we'll be okay. Yeah, I think once this hardens up, we'll be good. Well, that's my plan anyways. If it goes south, then it goes south. Try not to push it too hard, but enough just to get it. Yeah, see, it's funny because there's some spots where I can push down on it and it's going into the resin nicely, and others I'm sort of pushing down and not much of anything. So I'm not 100% sure of why. However, I still think we're going to get the effect that I'm aiming for. Yeah, see, I've got too much space there and I don't feel enough here. All right. So, yeah, I wasn't going to bring you back, and I thought, no, you need to bring them back. So now we will let this sit. I'll come back. It's been 15 minutes, so we'll let that sit, and hopefully none of these little trees go down any further. Like I'm looking at that one sort of getting caught up in it. But again, I think you know, fingers crossed we're going to be okay. And then the only other thing is you learn from this is you don't, you know, wait as long if you got it on a heating mat. Sometimes the timing is just, you get lucky with the timing, and other times, you know, not so much. But I still think it's going to make a really cute coaster. So that's what I care about right now. And I guess I better get back to cleaning things up because I totally sidestepped that. So I'm just going to put this over here. I'll pull that off at some point. Let's get our cover back on. All right. Now when we come back to it, we'll have to just, you know, get our sticker placed down in this and get, you know, our rest of our resin mixed up and poured. And then we will let it sit and cure for the 24 hours it needs to. All right, we are coming down to the last leg of our journey. Now, we've got this ready to put in our sticker. Alrighty, we'll get that. And we'll make sure we get that stuck down really, really well. With hopefully no fingerprints where I don't want them, right? That's always the interesting thing when you're working with resin, is not getting fingerprints on things. And then hopefully my little mess up there with the other resin going on top will be okay. I just need to move this a little bit, I think. I'm trying to see, and I can't because my hands are in the way, or my fingers. I just want to just making sure this is going to fit so that we don't run into our, whatchamacallit, our, what are they again? Gingerbread men. I'm trying to think what I've got so that we can, I guess what I could do is just put on one of my pink gloves that I use all the time, and use it because I want to be really careful. Yes, I want this down everywhere, but I don't want to loosen it at the sides at all. And then I noticed when I took my heat mat off, and then I'd put this back on, but the board was still a little warm, so it warped it, so I took it off, and then I noticed my table wasn't level. Now, I've readjusted it, so I'm going to have to pay attention to it. And it's been pretty good up until, well, I just noticed it today, so I shouldn't really say anything. So I would advise, and I need to do this myself, is to double check that if you've got one of these boards, that you check it regularly to make sure that you are level, that it hasn't changed. All right, I think that's down pretty good. I've got my resin all made up. Let me just get this pink glove off and my other gloves on. The pieces at the back there, we will take them out of the mold at the same time we do this piece, because it's not about those, is it? All right. Okay, resin's all mixed up, ready to go. I made about 60 mils. I'm fingers crossed this will be enough. And if it's not, then I will just make some more up off camera. So let's just see what happens now. I think one of the somewhat cool things with using clear sometimes is being able to get away with some air bubbles. Not many though. You really don't want air bubbles. But they happen. I don't know how, you know, some people have mentioned that they've been able to do pieces without any air bubbles at all. And I'm not sure, even with the debubbler, how you manage that. So I guess if you're managing it, that's, you know, good for you. That's awesome. But I have not been able to pull that off. Now I don't use my debubbler all the time. But yeah, so here's hoping everything turns out. Fingers crossed for me, please. I really want this to turn out because I think it's kind of a cool idea. And I mean, you could use a lot of different things in this. Now, the one thing I am going to really have to pay attention to is that I don't go over the edge of this, right? Like, that's something that you really want to be careful of. Normally, I don't have to go up so high. However, in order to cover everything up, and as I say, I mean, if push comes to shove, and I have to do another layer on top of this at some point, right, because we're not completely covered, then fair. And it will help me to know, yeah, see, I don't have resin over top of that. So I guess what would have been a better idea is if I had buried these down when I did the snowflakes, right? So again, this is helpful to you. It's like, okay, Natalie should have put these down when she put the snowflakes down. Fair enough. I can appreciate that. And two, when we were putting those in, you know, some of them I could push down into the resin, and there were a couple that wasn't working. Yeah, so that's just covered. I just want to just see. Yeah, some of these trees are definitely lower than others. Like, there's just no two ways about that. I think if I'm really, really lucky, I've got them covered now, and some of them just covered. And hopefully, fingers crossed, and if it does, like if my sticker goes, you know, sideways, then we know that. And I know some people are probably saying you should have put a coating of something on it. You know, maybe even some UV resin on it. But I didn't, so we will just have to grin and bear it. I still think it's going to look cool. Regardless, I think it's going to look cool. So I'm just going to, I just want to see if I've got it. I think I've got it as high as I can go now. So we're not. Now, I'm sort of noticing, and it would be hard for you, but I do have some air bubbles in here, so I'm going to have to keep track of those. It is like sort of discoloring the edge, but fingers crossed it doesn't do too much damage. That one's not working well. Let's get one that is. I'm not going over that. I'm not using the alcohol to spritz this because I am so close to the top. I do not want to risk at all this going over the sides, okay? I do think it looks cool though. I do like the layering effect. I do like that a lot. It might have gone south a little bit because of the UV resin, but we'll deal. Like, right, like this is just, we've done it. You're learning things not to do because of what I am doing that, you know, is not serving a purpose. So we'll, you know, you just keep that in mind when, if you decide to do this. Don't do some of the things Natalie has. And I have no issue making mistakes when it comes to this because it helps me as well. All right. How much have I got? Not quite 20 mils left in there. So 40 would have pulled it off. Like I say, I'm pretty much right up to the edge of that, with maybe nothing left to spare. So there we have it as of now. All right. So that's how she looks. I think I like it. Again, I've learned some things from this, so what not to do next time. But I think it's going to look pretty cool. We may have to put a coating on the other side, obviously, because of my UV resin debacle. But I'm not, you know what? I think it looks pretty cool. So let's get this covered back up. I will figure out what to do with the rest of my resin. Just going to do that up. Again, I like having it so air can circulate, you know, underneath it and it doesn't warm up. And when we are ready to take this out of the mold, we will do that. So I will see you in about 24 hours. All right, are we ready to see where we landed? We'll do those two in a moment. What I did was, before I decided we would take this out, is I put this under my Let's Resin UV lamp. I wanted, because of the fact that I hadn't really thought about the UV resin not setting up or becoming soft and maybe liquid type again, I threw it under the UV lamp just because I thought it would be a good idea. So when we take it out, potentially if there was any wetness through the top here, we could maybe deal with that. So we'll see what happens. I put it under for 7 minutes. The other thing I want to do, and we have to take it out. I mean, I have like no room left to put a top coat on this. So if I have to do a top coat, I have to do a top coat. But I just want to see if we did okay with the trees. Yeah, it feels like we did okay with the trees, that they're underneath, and I'm not feeling that I'm running over the trees. I believe there is enough on the trees, and we'll just double check the gingerbread, and I'm not concerned about those at all. And then if we look at our piece in the center, our sticker, really all I can see is that the edges look like they've soaked up a little bit of the resin, but the rest of it, I think, looks pretty good. All right, so I'm pleased with how we've done. We had air bubbles, yep, knew about that. The big thing was going to be to do it again. I think I would be, one, pay attention to my snowflakes, one, to put these little mini trees in maybe a little bit sooner. Of course, we use the heating mat, so that, I mean, that had an impact. If I hadn't done the heating mat, I would have had more time. Could have gotten these guys sunk a little bit more than what I did, and potentially we would not have had an issue with the UV resin. So those are tips for me moving forward. Maybe you would have thought about that. I just had the idea and I ran with it. But I do like how we have layered, and I think that's really cool because it gives the effect of the snowflakes and these little trees sort of floating along with our middle sticker. So let's get this out and see what happened on the bottom. And I'm trying to think if I could give you a running total. I figured it was probably going to be about 100 mils to do this in the future. So and I've got a little bit of, now these aren't the best molds, so I have something sort of coming over from the edge here, and I don't know, I'm not sure what caused that, whether it was the mold or what have you. Okay, so got a bit of an issue, but hopefully not too big of an issue. And maybe, fingers crossed, it won't matter. All right, so we have some of the red left in the mold from where the gingerbread men are. All right. So yeah, let's look at the top again. I want to see if there are any other, like they've got that one. It almost looks like a watermark, if you will. Sort of, if you've ever had water go down on a piece of metal or whatnot, it sort of leaves a rust stain on it. So I have that, and it's hard to see if it's right on the top layer or if it's just that layer below. I'm not sure. I would say the top, but I'm not 100% sure. And I have a I have a piece of dust in this, but anyway. Yeah. It's not perfect. However, I do think it's a very cool idea. So this is what I've got to deal with at the back now. I just want to put this down on something. Okay. So now what I have to deal with is the fact that I've got these, I'm going to have to put a coat of resin on top of this. And what I could do, and I'll give it some thought, would be to mix up the two-part epoxy, because I'm pretty confident I will do that, because it's going to take me too much to try and do this with UV resin. And the other bonus, if I use the two-part epoxy, I can mix some of my red mica powder in it and then have it so it's not see-through as it is right now. So I don't know if you can, like for me it's really easy to see through. I don't know if my camera is going to pick that up for you, but you can see. So it might be nice for me to just go over it with not a very thick layer, mind you, and I would sand it down a little bit too, just so that my resin sticks better to it. But I'm just, and what I'll do as well is I'll put this back under the UV lamp, and I will allow it to cure that UV resin up more, and then I'll go about putting the bottom coat on it. So there's a lot of different things to learn out of this piece. Would I have been better putting a very thin layer of resin in it and then placing down my gingerbread? Maybe. That might have helped a little bit from when it, pulling it out later might have been beneficial. So yeah, something I can try out. Definitely, I don't see myself, like if I'm going to use the heating mat next time, I would want just two-part epoxy, because I have sort of ruined the bottom of this a little bit, and I think there's a combination of things going on there. So I would definitely want to try it next time without any UV resin, or UV resin, but we don't put it on the heating mat. However, from an overall, yeah, I'm pleased with this piece because I think it's a really cool idea, and I love the idea of the layering in it to give it that sort of 3D effect. I mean, for me, the snowflakes look like they're floating in it, and the trees definitely do. And then you have the shadow from these trees onto the bottom, which is kind of neat as well. So it was an interesting piece. I liked doing it. I would love to know in the comments below what you think about this, if this is something you've tried. I still have another idea for the snowflake and the gingerbread people. I have to find the right mold, and I don't know where that is right now. But when I find it, I will definitely do another video, because I think these guys are so cute. Like, I really think they're cute. So there we have it. That is it. That is it for this video. And yeah, I thought this would be cool. And the red's nice at the background. So we'll put that down. So that's that. We'll take out my bells here and see how they turned out. Some intricate spots in molds like this, and I'm doing my bestest not to order molds like this anymore, just because they are so intricate. I think these are meant more for, what's the stuff called? Clay. But because it's trying to get, like, I've got air bubbles in this. And I have to admit, I still think these would be kind of cool as earrings. And I definitely want to brush over these to bring this more to, like matte. That's perfect. I noticed my one little bow over here, this piece of it is missing. So again, pieces like this, they're really intricate. You want something that's going to flow really easily into these, and, you know, do your best to work the material, resin, clay, polyurethane, which you'd have to do really fast pouring wise, as we know. Mixed mold, I would not use on this. The ceramic resin, there's no way, because there's too many intricate spots, and I don't know that you could let it set up long enough in order to, you know, have it come out right. So for me, I don't even think I have tried ceramic resin in this. Let's see how the other one turned out. All right, so I've got some stuff to clean up around this one. And actually, I'm looking at these two, and the one actually looks a little darker than the other one, which is interesting. If we look at, I don't know if you're going to be able to tell, and this one's definitely not as thick. I didn't get as much resin in it. Anyway, yeah, this is darker than that one, which is kind of interesting, being that they came out of the same batch of resin. Anywho, I'm going to see about making these into earrings. And again, I don't mind big bulky earrings, but for some people this may be a little over the top. I'm game for being over the top. Anyway, so now we can end this video. I thought this was a really cool idea. We'll work on my idea for the next one. I've actually got even a kind of interesting video that I may see about doing with something totally different. Anyway, there you go. Thank you for watching, coming out. Again, I appreciate you spending time watching my videos. As I always say, be creative, always take care, and bye for now.